Hi, everyone. I'm Matt, founder and CEO of LiveSchool. This is the LiveSchool podcast. Our guest today is Jason Malaschak, assistant principal at Piper Creek Elementary School, as well as the district data director in Kansas City. So good to have you on the podcast today. How's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, great to be here.
So, could you tell us, maybe for your current school? I know you've worked at multiple campuses. What sort of led the team to decide to, implement a positive school-wide system?
Well, we have been trying positive behavior interventions for a long, long time. And at my last building, which was a K through 2 building, we were giving out Piper Gold. We have been handing out Piper Gold for years. I mean, like a decade. But it became a point to where, okay, now we wanted to track it. We actually wanted to find out if how our gold is being used, um, which kids are getting it, which kids are not getting it, how are they getting it, why are they getting it. We wanted to find out all that information. We tried everything I could think of. As the data person, I'm a math guy, I'm a spreadsheet guy. We tried all sorts of different things. We tried, I created Piper Gold, which was just paper gold. I created a little QR code on it that would link to a Google form, and teachers would have to fill out a Google form to do it. That lasted about 4 weeks, and it became totally unmanageable. There's no way that teachers have time to be handing out gold and filling out a Google form. So we tried, okay, just input it directly on the spreadsheet, just forget the Google form. Again, that lasted about a few weeks. We were getting great data from it, but oh my goodness, the teachers were ready to revolt because it was just taking so long. I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's just keep tally marks on a sheet of paper. And then at the end of the week, just give me some totals. All right, let's try that. That lasted for a while, but again, it's not manageable. Teachers wanted to hand out the gold and they would sometimes forget to do the tally mark. And it was tough. It was tough on the teachers. It was unmanageable. We were not getting the data that we needed. So we finally got smart and started looking at online tools that would actually help. And we looked at a few of them, and LiveSchool was where we landed on because LiveSchool, it was the easiest thing for our teachers to use. I mean, we showed it to a set of teachers, our building leadership team. We had them practice once, and then we had them take it to the classroom, and they just fell in love with it about the ease of use. The data that we were getting out of, from my end was fantastic. It was exactly what we wanted to see. Was the gold being handed out in the classroom, was being handed out in the hallway. You know what, it allowed us to have some great conversations too. Like all of a sudden we would have a rash for 2 weeks, we were having a lot of problems with bad behavior in the bathroom. Well, we could look at our LiveSchool and say, well, you know what? Nobody's handing out LiveSchool points for being respectful, responsible, or safe in the restroom. So let's focus on that this week. Let's focus on that as a school, and let's see what we can do. And it has just made a drastic difference in how we collect the data and how we serve our students so that we know exactly where to serve them, where our needs are at, and so on. So all that long story to say that we tried everything as possible to just build an in-house system for this. It was not possible. We tried everything. We landed on LiveSchool, and it has been fantastic ever since.
Well, that is great to hear, and the history is so interesting, and I think anyone who's tried to roll out a school-wide system can totally relate. It's like you try to, do something, and maybe it solves some of the problems, but maybe it's not sustainable, or maybe there's too much administrative work, and then you try something else. So it's really interesting to hear how you, the trial and error basically that you went through. I also just have to say, so many schools like name their currency tickets or bucks or dollars. First school I've ever heard that calls it gold, and I like it. I think that's a pretty cool name for your school-wide currency. Very creative. And what kind of impact have you seen either at your current campus or the other campuses you've been part of that have sort of, I guess, digitized what they were already working to do with positive systems?
The two schools that I have actually personally worked in, the year that we implemented LiveSchool, we saw a drastic change in the number of behavior referrals that we get to the office because now we're really focused on that positive praise. And I think more students are getting gold than ever before, and that has just made a big difference. So at the K through 2 building, we implemented this 2 years ago, and we saw a drastic change in the number of kids who had to come down to the office for things. I think part of that, I think it's a twofold approach that LiveSchool allows us to do. Is number one, is it more of an emphasis on positive praise? We try in our district to use a 5-to-1 ratio of positive praise to negative corrections, and that just kind of having that on the forefront of not only teachers' minds but all staff. I mean, counselors, administrators, everybody has a LiveSchool account in our building. we all can give life school gold. So we concentrate on making that positive praise, and that has really helped out. But I think the second thing that's helped out is that communication with parents. Um, it's so simple now for parents to log in to their live school account and just see where the positive praise has been, how much positive praise did their child get that day, and if there was a negative point, we don't take negative points away, but we do put negative comments in there if there's something that needed to be addressed. And it's a nice, simple way to, hey, a negative comment, it was for this reason, and the teachers put a little comment there, and it's just a nice way for parents to communicate. Every parent wants to know, hey, how did my child's day go? And now you don't have to send a separate email for that. You can just check out, log into Live School and check that. So I think that that has had an effect too, where kids know that their parents are checking that Live School account. They know how their day is going, and so it's, hey, we want to make sure that our day is going as good as can be. And so I think that it has just helped out in both of those aspects. The positive praise in our building and the communication with parents, I think, has been huge.
That's a great breakdown. And of course, it's a positive system. So let's talk about the fun stuff that students are earning at school. So what kinds of experiences or rewards has your staff come up with to, motivate students?
All right, so we've come up with a lot of cool things, and the nice thing is that our middle school they just started live school this year for the first time, just kind of like what we did at our 3 through 5 building, and they have really taken off with some amazing ideas. Because at the elementary school, we have some great ideas too that really make things fun, but they wouldn't necessarily translate well to the middle school. So they've come up with some unique things. But at the elementary school, so at the K through 2 building, we have what I like to refer to as the Chuck E. Cheese cabinet. Is we have this big, used to be a trophy case. Well, we've taken all that stuff out there and we've put in there all the things that kids can earn. And it's a lot of fun. Most of it is donated by parents and donated by other organizations. But the school's paid for some of it just to buy some things. But there's little trinkets in there. There's little toys. There's there's fun little things to play with. There's little cars. There's Play-Doh. There's all kinds of trinkets. Fidgets things are something kids love. They love the fidget spinners and things like that. But I know that our K through 2 building has stepped it up this year. They have had parents donate Razor scooters and donate drones. And I mean, these are now things that kids, they don't want to spend their money every quarter on the small stuff. Some of those kids, they want to save up and buy the big stuff. They want to save up and get the drone, get the Razor scooter. So we've had, I mean, great things like that. But our parents have seen what can be purchased, and so they have started donating things to some of those big prizes. For it. So at Creek at the 3 through 5 building, we now have the same thing. As we have a lot of we have a ton of, oh my goodness, the parents who help organize our we call a pirate ship. The pirate ship goes around. Um,
Is that like a cart, sort of, or?
It's a cart. Now we have actually moved it to a room. It no longer actually travels from room to room because it's gotten so big. So kids now actually come to the pirate ship now. It is shipwrecked. We have docked the ship, and yes, the kids now come to the ship. But it has gotten so massive because we have a lot of parents who volunteer a ton of time to come and organize the ship, and so the ship sails every month, and the kids come down and like to buy things too. Um, but the coolest thing that our elementary kids like to spend their big money on are experiences. So we have things like a creek, and as a matter of fact, I have one today. We have fine dining with the principal, and so a student pays live school points to come to that. And so during lunchtime, they come down to our office, and it's a one-on-one, the kid and the principal, and we lay down a tablecloth, we lay down fine plates, and then the child gets to pick which fast food restaurant in the area they want to get food at. And so they think it's really cool that they get to go and pick a place to come eat. We deliver the food to them, and then we just get to sit down for half an hour and actually have a one-on-one conversation. With food, we pour the little drink into nice little glasses, and we play some background music, and we make it really fun. I mean, it's kind of a big deal, and the kids love it, and we love it just to get to know the one-on-one. That's great. So we have fine dining with the principal. We have pizza and pop with the principals too, and that's where both of us principals are in there. And that's kids just come as a group, and we just get to have pizza and chat.
Hang out, yeah.
Half an hour. That's awesome. But the K through 2 building does. They get to help Officer Dave, our security officer, so they get to spend an hour just kind of walking with Security Dave and helping to keep the building safe and checking all the doors to make sure they're locked and so on. And then there's principal for a day, so they get to come hang out in the office, and then we give them little jobs to do, and it's so much fun. Kids look forward to that. But our middle school has come up with really, really creative things. Now, they also have what they call a loot buggy. The loot buggy has all the candies and snacks and fidgets and things just like we have. But they also have our principal makes customized school swag that kids can buy. And so he actually will make them a shirt, make those, that which is really fun. Um, we have we do things in our building like kids if they want to work with a STEM teacher to do a laser cutter to do something. They want to design something on the 3D printer. They can spend time with the STEM teacher to do that, or spend time with a tech teacher to do something. Our middle school has assigned seats at lunch, and so you can use the LiveSchool points if you want to sit with a friend during lunch instead of having your assigned seat. That's really cool. They also have a rule that you can only attend basketball games or football games with a parent unless you buy a special ticket with LiveSchool points. Then you can go to a game by yourself without a parent. That is actually quite a popular one right there.
So on that one, do like a couple of kids all buy that and then they go together without?
I think they buy them in groups so they can all go
Right,
together.
right,
And
right. Exactly.
yeah, but it's a lot of fun, and it's quite an incentive for a middle schooler. Like that's a big deal, that you can actually go to a game without a parent. And so yeah, get your friends together, buy it on LiveSchool points. They can attend dances with that instead of having to pay the entrance fee for the dances. They can buy their dance ticket with LiveSchool points. So they're tying it with a lot of their social activities that they do at the middle school, and that's the kind of thing that middle school kids like. They enjoy those kind of activities.
Yeah. It's such a great balance of, tangibles, and experiences. It really sounds like a rich environment for kids to find what they like and do what's exciting to them. You mentioned, the parent donations that you've been able to garner. It sounds like you probably have just a pretty amazing parent community. Is there anything you did to try to reach out and encourage that, or was that just organic and good fortune?
It was kind of organic. We had this started at the K through 2 building. Our counselors ran the pirate ship down at the K through 2 building. And so they contacted a few parents that they all know are always up and willing to help out. And so they kind of got them on board to help out. And so then as their kids moved up to the 3 through 5 building, now they know how to run the pirate ship. And so the parents come up here and take it to the next level. And so yeah, and then those parents then reach out and get other people on board. And so it has really just kind of grown as people get excited about it.
Yeah, well, and it makes sense as a parent too. I mean, if you can see something that's just so tangible in terms of the impact in the building and making kids smile and helping kids work harder, that's got to be really rewarding, for the parents too. So it's a win-win. What about just the process of like launching something like this, in terms of training teachers and getting everyone on board and sort of rowing in the same direction? What was it like? Getting the community, onto a sort of new way of doing your positive behavior system.
Well, this is where I can really give a lot of credit to our teachers on this because they had to be flexible on this. They had to do something they've never done before, and they really, really ran with it. They took off with it. Our staff, first of all, getting them on board with positive praise, that was the easy part because I think everybody knows, hey, that's what it really, really takes to help change kids' attitudes towards school. Is school needs to be a safe, fun, positive place for them to come through. And if kids look forward to coming to school, that's I mean,
You're
that's
you're
half
you're
the battle
90%
right
of the
there.
way there. Yeah.
Exactly right. So getting teachers on board with that aspect, that's where you have to start, is understanding that positive praise is important. But once we got our teachers on board with that, and they definitely were, now it became time to, hey, we need to find something that is time manageable. It's not going to cost you extra time because we want kids to get gold. Like I want kids. You hand out gold all over the place. So we want something simple, like not time constrained, because if it became a time constraining issue, like we saw with previous attempts that we did, teachers were hesitant to hand out gold because they knew it was a giant pain to do.
Oh, no, once I do this. Yeah. I
Exactly.
gotta file a report on this. Yeah.
Right, right, right. And so they didn't want to hand out the gold, and rightfully so. Like I get it, and I made it complicated. That was my fault. But now it's just clicking a name. I mean, this is as simple as it gets, and so it's really simple now. But what we did at our building with our K through 2 building is we got our building leadership team involved, and we just gave it to them to practice and work out the kinks for a semester before we started rolling out. Because we wanted to see, is this definitely something that we want to roll? We don't want to roll something out school wide that was not going to. I mean, because if we did that, Then all of a sudden, the mindset of all the staff members is, okay, every time we do this, it's going to be a disaster. So we don't want to do it. We knew we had to make sure we rolled this thing out the right way. So we had a few staff members do it, and the way that we designed how our tickets were handed out, like the categories of our tickets, we had to go through 2 or 3 iterations of that before we finally landed on what we actually wanted to use. And so I'm glad that we did a little trial experiment there because we're able to work out the kinks. We tried it. We met every 3 or 4 weeks to kind of say, okay, how's it going? What are some recommendations? What makes it clunky? What makes it? And so we were able to try make those tweaks. And then the following year in August, we were able to roll it out school wide, and all the kinks were worked out. We had all the categories for all the points exactly how we wanted it to happen, because we had worked all that out. And so then we rolled it in August. It was simple, and the teachers saw that. Even the teachers who aren't tech savvy, who are scared of technology, they're like, this is actually really simple. And so most of our teachers could do it on their phone, do it on their iPad. Some of them did on their computer, and they would just have their computer open or whatever it was and just be handing out points like that. There were some teachers who do still wait till they actually do tally marks and wait till the end of the week to enter it all in. And we said, hey, that's fine to do, however you want to do it. But the teachers who do it live, they like the sound effect. The sound kids liked hearing that ding when they got that point. That was a big deal. Like something simple like that, that ding was great to hear, and so that those little tiny things with live school just kind of make it a fun experience. But it was really really simple, and our middle schoolers, like, they kind of liked it too because there's some programs out there that are a little too kid oriented, a little too like, and this is simple to use for an elementary, but it's not so kid like that middle school or high school would be embarrassed to use it. It's one program we found that actually would work K through 12 that everybody would be satisfied with, and so we really really like that. But when I rolled it out here, we didn't do a pilot program here. We already set it up at Prairie, but I think the teachers at this building knew, they had heard what the other school had done. They knew that it worked, and so then it was just my job and the counselor's job. We ran a 30-minute training on how to do it. We showed everybody how to get on the roster, how to click on a name, how to give them a point, and that was pretty much it. It's a simple program. It doesn't take a whole lot of training to do. So we just had teachers roll it out. And then as they did that, we would show them, how they can use scoreboards, how they can use the timeline, how to edit points, how to, if they made a mistake. I have learned that I've learned how to delete when um, when somebody buys something at the store and it wasn't entered correctly. I've learned how to go back and change that, which is really simple to do. So all they have to do is email me. I take care of the fix. Um, but the rollout has actually been a really, really, I don't know. It was simple to roll out because it is such an intuitive program to learn.
Yeah, well, just to play back, like two strategies there that I think others could use. One, it sounds like the pilot at the prior campus, the pilot really was a powerful tool to work out any issues, and it's very different if you're iterating 3 or 4 times, but you've got the whole staff involved versus the small group who's sort of like your special teams, and they're figuring it out together, and then you roll it out. So that I think is a really great tactic. And then the other thing you shared that I think is a really good lesson is it sounds like this year you really started with just the basics of how to award points, the very simple stuff, and then as teachers got more proficient, yeah, you can also do this, you can also do this. In other words, it sounds like it wasn't trying to front load every single thing that you could possibly do as a teacher, which is a lot. I mean, people, none of us can pick up that many things all at once. So I think those are great strategies that other people could use as well.
Exactly. And I loved how you said that because, yeah, you don't want to front load them with every single thing that it does because it does a lot of stuff. They don't need to know that for day one of school. For day one of school, just know how to put points in and know how to put comments in. Those are the two biggest things that we wanted to do was points and comments. And that was great. Then at back to school night, we can get the parents on board with it, get their accounts going. And so, yeah, just load them with that stuff. And then as the year goes on, we can show them some of the fancier things that it does. One thing I will mention about the pilot program that I thought made a big difference for us is we had to pilot the program was with one teacher from every grade level, but also don't forget to make sure that you have, your specials teachers. They have a different perspective because they have to be able to go back and forth for different classes. Every hour they have a different class, they have a different roster. So they had to be able to, is it easy to flip from class to class? Which, by the way, it really is. But we also had our interventionists. Our interventionist sees just a handful of kids every time, and they can be from different classes. So how simple is it for them to use it? Um, and then we had so we and then paraprofessionals, special education teachers. I think we had one of pretty much every aspect of the building in there because we have everybody in our building actually has an account. So we had to make sure that it didn't work just from the classroom teacher perspective, but that everybody could see the value in doing this and that it was simple for everybody to use.
Yeah, that's a really important detail, right? Because you could have ironed out all the kinks for your, core subject teachers. And then that staff PD might not have gone as well because people would have valid concerns. How's this gonna work for me as, a gym teacher or et cetera? That's a great point. Um, have there been any, I mean, it sounds like there's been many, so maybe if you wanted to share one, just a cool moment where having this kind of positive system really made a difference, for an individual student or maybe a class or a grade dynamic. Just curious, I'm sure you see a lot, in your role of different relationships in the building, and I'm curious what kind of impact having a positive system has.
Well, I will just tell you from a firsthand experience. One funny thing that happened the very first year that we had it in our K through 2 building. Every once in a while, I would go spend 15, 20 minutes. If emergency situation, I had to go substitute in a class for some reason. So I would go into class and I would just be, hey, walking around, watching the kids work, answering some questions, getting some help. And every once in a while, kids, yeah, I'm the assistant principal and I'm walking into the classroom, but at the same time, I'm not their normal teacher. So maybe they can get by with some things that, like, no, I'm always allowed to walk around the classroom during this time. No, you're not. See, I know that. But they would always try some things. But all it would take is I would get on my phone, especially that first year when it was still brand new, and I would remind the class, hey, don't forget, I can give you live school points too. And I would get out my phone and show them my app. And all of a sudden, the whole group, the whole atmosphere of the classroom would change. All of a sudden now they're digging down, they're doing what they're supposed to do, they're all doing their work, they all have their books out, and the whole dynamic of the classroom just changed when I said, "Hey, by the way, I can offer live school points too." And so I would say, "Hey, you know what? Table 3, you are doing an outstanding job of being ultra responsible with your work. Everybody at table 3 gets a live school point." Ding, exactly. The whole rest of the class now, they want their table to be recognized for live school points too. And so all it would take is that's how much the kids love their live school points and they love that positive praise is I just have to remind them that I can give them the points too. And so then they would come to me in the classroom, they would see me in the hallway and they would, not that they're doing things to get the praise, but they just like the fact that, hey, we're all on the same page. We all know what's going on. And yes, we can all give you these things that they really, really like.
Yeah, that's really neat. I'd love to wrap up with maybe some bigger picture questions. One that I always love to ask podcast guests is kind of about this debate in education between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Certainly comes up, and it's a concern that you definitely hear from teachers sometimes. Like, well, we just really feel like students should do the right thing because it's the right thing, and there's this balance between yes, developing those intrinsic motivations, but also, I've heard it joked like, I love my job, but I wouldn't do it if I didn't get a paycheck. So there's always a balance in life between those two. I'm really curious what your experience has been on how to really cultivate intrinsic, motivation and values in students while also creating an environment where students are recognized and there is fun.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. And we talk about that a lot because ultimately we want students to be intrinsically motivated. Like you're doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And that's where I think it's so critical to have your counselors on board with what you're trying to do with a positive behavior system. Because in our counseling lessons, that's where we really talk about. We talk about those, how to, you're being the right person because it's the right thing to do because of how you make other people feel and driving that empathy towards others. I think that those counseling lessons are absolutely critical to do because ultimately that's what you want. At the same time, we also know that kids do work for rewards, and we want to make sure that you're not doing what's right because you get a reward tied to it. But we want to acknowledge that we noticed you doing the right thing. That
Mhm.
I saw you when I see somebody picking up trash in the hallway. That is something that it's a very, very tiny little thing, but I know that student didn't do it because they saw me standing there and I was going to give them a live school points. They did it because it was the right thing to do, and so therefore I want to reward them with that and say, "Hey, you know what? Nice job right here, and I'm going to give you a live school point for that. Good work." And so it is a tough balance between those two things because we want that intrinsic motivation, but I also want school to be a fun place to learn, and I want them to have some fun and be able to get some things. And if you didn't have the reward system tied to that good behavior, there'd be a lot of fun things we're missing out on. And so, yes, I do see the balance there. I want to make sure that we're teaching kids that doing the right thing is great. Um, but I think that you have to go hand in hand, and we want to make sure that one of my favorite things. I love catching kids doing the right thing. They're not doing it to get the points. They're doing it because they saw somebody in need. They saw a friend at recess who was lonely, and they went up to them and wanted to play with them. That's a great time for me to acknowledge that, hey, I noticed what you did, and that's the right thing to do. And by acknowledging that, there's now a higher percent chance that they're going to do that same thing again. And that if that good thing went unnoticed and unacknowledged, it might not ever happen again. And we want to make sure we're doing that. So to me, it's just that reinforcement that kids, what you're doing is the right thing, and we just want to acknowledge it.
Absolutely. And last question for you. If you had a billboard that you could put up any message you wanted that every assistant principal would see on their way to work in the morning, just curious if there's a message or something that you really value as an educator that you would want to put up there.
Oh man. We have to remember every single day that learning is fun. You have to make school has to be fun. It has to be enjoyable. I'm lucky enough to I get to work in a K through 5 system. Kids still love coming to school. For the most part, kids still do. And it makes the job fun. It makes it fun for the kids. Kids are more willing to learn when school's fun. When they get to middle school and high school, I know that kind of goes away. I spent the majority of my career actually in a high school setting. I know that joy of coming to school is not always there every day. It declines a little bit. One of the things I like to tell our teachers, especially those fifth grade teachers, that sometimes they it, teaching is a very, very tough profession, and sometimes there's days that just kind of get to you. One of my ultimate goals for the kids is, hey, by the time they leave fifth grade, I still want them excited to come to school. I want school to be fun. If if they still understand that learning is fun, when kids graduate high school, if they still think learning is fun, they can grow up and do anything that they want to do because they know that learning new things is fun, and we're always learning things. I'm still learning things every day. I want kids to think learning is fun. Live School is one of those programs that it reminds us that school is fun, and we get to have really, really fun things. Today, I get to have a fine dining experience with one of my kids. It's one of the highlights of my day. I got so excited waking up today and realizing, oh my goodness, I got a fine dining experience. I actually have one today and one tomorrow. This is super rare that I have two of them. But man, this is what makes school fun. And so I want kids to understand. And having those fine dining experiences, having those experiences with kids, all of a sudden now those kids they see me in the hallways all the time, and it might be a kid who didn't acknowledge me every day, but now we have a special bond, and it's because of that positive behavior thing, because of the reward system we have in place. And that's something that just makes school such an enjoyable place. I want kids to think this is the safe place. This is an awesome place to be. I want them waking. It's hard to wake up every day and think I got to go work for 7 hours and be looking forward to it. But I want them to understand that, hey, when you come here, it's not all just work. We're going to have some fun too. And so please remember, always make sure that you keep in mind for kids, learning is fun. It always should be fun. Man, let's come here and have a great time.
Mic drop. Love it. Thank you so much. That's a great message to end on. Appreciate you joining the podcast today and taking the time, and yeah, just sharing all the fun things that you've done with your students and staff. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I love talking about our schools, and so we're doing great things here. And I just appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for making an awesome product. We love it.